Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 35 of Uncommon Sense. Dean Holmes and Craig Kamanis here with you again. Craig, good afternoon, and new office, I see.
Good afternoon, Dean. Uncommon Sense is on the road literally today. Actually in the car and out and about in the fair state of Adelaide. We've got a little bit of sun. And the reason I'm in the car, Dean, is in about 11, 12, 13 minutes time, so we might have to have a quick Uncommon Sense today. I'm joining a couple of advisors for an end of financial year lunch, which is absolutely lovely. And most people are going, well, that's not unusual. Why would you do that? But, this one was a random surprise. I got an email into the inbox, completely unexpected, saying, would you like to join us for lunch? We appreciate what you've done so far for us, and, we'd like to celebrate the end of the financial year with you. And I thought, wow, and it made me reflect, man, aren't random surprises nice?
Absolutely. Random acts of kindness, whether they are for your significant other, family, or clients or colleagues, it's really special. And I think the element of the spontaneous nature and the nature of it not being for a birthday or a particular event does create some value for clients. If we think about it from a financial planning and business perspective, we're able to create that great relationship just by thinking of them at a different point in time. And it's not that hard. I talk about the fact that you can systematize spontaneous acts of giving or spontaneous acts of thinking, as well as that you don't have to be always having it in your head that I've got to give a client a thank you. Often we just record it as a task every 136 days or 257 days. And it seems like it's random to the client if you did something every 257 days. But Craig, it's a system.
It's a system, exactly right, mate.
257 days.
You exactly can do it. But the element of the surprise is for the receiver is always going to be fantastic, I think. So
Indeed.
just worth noting as we get going, Dean.
Enjoy your lunch after this, Craig. So welcome to all the guests that are watching live on LinkedIn. You're welcome to put some comments and questions as we go through today. So thanks very much for attending. So Craig, it's end of financial year, as we hinted.
It is.
And everyone knows. And so we thought we'd do a little bit of 6 month in review of how we have been going from a business perspective, each of us, what's been some challenges and learnings, as well as doing a little bit of a reflection on what we've learned through Uncommon Sense with ourselves and the guests that we've had over the last 6 months. So, Craig, big question for you to get started is some of the learnings that you've had in the last 6 months.
Look, I think if I summarised it into a really just sort of the one that stuck out most for me, Dean, it's been the learning of sticking to your strategy and sticking to your plan and trying not to deviate from it, even though if early on in it doesn't feel like it's getting the momentum that you actually want. If it's right, and I always say it has to be right because you've made the decision, but if it's right and you keep applying to it and you keep going at it, there will be this point in time where it clicks and it works. For us, the live example of that has been, transforming our businesses from just being known as a licensee or a dealer group, or, dealer group's a horrible term now, but from a licensee into this service company. How Diverger is the parent. That's not a plug, everyone. It's just, sorry, I'm just talking about the story, but how Diverger as a parent set about being a service company for advice and accounting firms, and therefore then how our what would be viewed in the market as traditional licensees, how we've tried to transform them into a service company as well. And when you look at that, what they become is the environment for the right practice to operate in, because every practice needs a different environment to operate in, or one that particularly suits them. And so if you can create that as a service to give them the environment to operate in, and then you bring in the other services that people need, and it's also about listening to your clients, right? and around what services they need. And then you get this diversification thing, Dean, where you can offer a number of
Is that a
services that
new
advice firms
hashtag?
need.
That's a new hashtag, Craig, that you're trying to get live here today, is it?
Well, we can't claim it, mate. Someone far smarter than me who writes good articles came up with the term diversification, but I do like it because our whole goal has been as a business to bring other services in that advice firms need. So we've, brought in IT, which is great for, cybersecurity and actual just day-to-day IT. We've developed outsourcing services that people need as well. We've brought technical support and things into play that people have actually needed and wanted and engaged with. And so as we continue to diversify our services, our strategy is now coming to light.
Hmm.
And I had a client, a potential new client yesterday say, I owe it to my clients to partner with the best possible service provider there is. And he said to me, I really like the range of services you've got and that I can engage with you to get all of those. So that's a long way around, Dean, for me to saying that our strategy to develop these and implement them and all that type of thing, and where we sit in the market and how it's positioned is really starting to feels like it's coming to
Yeah.
fruition.
And I think that
yeah.
And the power of sticking to your strategy, you can be ignorant and you can be wrong for a really long time and then still be wrong, but you got to skate that fine line that you've built a strategy and it is robust, but it does take time for you to implement it, and then it takes time for everyone to understand what you're doing, and for an advisor to ring up and call you a service company is actually testament to we're all starting to change our mindsets in financial planning world about what our partners are called, and we may not call them licensees forever, as you said. So really good. I have a similar story, Craig, of
Yes, go. Tell me your story.
the power of saying no. So if you go onto Instagram or LinkedIn and you Google, there's a lot of stuff about being focused and saying no to things in order to allow you to focus on your core. And so that's come up a few times for me in the last 6 months. And the no is to try to not go back into financial planning or that kind of element of what I'm capable of doing, and the power is saying, no, that's not my role at the moment, or it's not my role, but I have a great solution for you. And so the ability to be clear on your personal strategy is also really relevant, and what I've learned over the last 6 months. And it's a great lesson for all of us as financial advisors or business coaches or business owners, is that it is okay for us to say no if we've got the solution for them to help the clients. So
Yes.
it's there'll be a lot of financial advisors potentially running around at the moment, maybe getting checks or filling out forms and all that, because there's this squeeze at the end of financial year. But if you think about it more broadly over the year, trying to say no to clients or service providers, in being really cognizant of your time. And so whilst we do want to have great relationships with business development managers and things like that within the industry, sometimes you can say no to meeting them if the time of the year doesn't work for you. Okay,
Yeah,
so
of course.
saying no at that point in time has been really, really useful. The second thing for me, Craig, is I'm doing things for 100 times, in terms of things that I want to improve in myself and the business overall. And so one of those, which has been quite interesting, that I did last year, is I ran every day for 100 days. Now, some of those days weren't the best running days, and some are a little bit better, but it was that discipline of doing something every single day, which I enjoyed. And now I've translated that into some activity that I'm doing on LinkedIn that I'm posting every day for 100 days. I can't say that I've completed it yet, but I've passed the point of no return, that it's easier to finish than it is to fail and start again. And so that's a lesson for me, that I realized that the hump that you have to get over when you're starting something new and committing to do it frequently. Now, it doesn't have to be every day, but the hump was actually quite early on in the 100 days. It wasn't at 50. It was at that
Yep.
point where I realized that when I had done about 20, that if I stopped at about 20 and started again, by the time I got to the same point, I would have been halfway through at 50. And so for me, the elements of I'm committed to this happened quite early at around 20 days in terms of that commitment, because I didn't want to fail and have to start again.
Yeah, and mate, and congratulations for it. You know, your content's been excellent. For anyone who does this, to know how hard it is to come up with consistent content all of the time, it's not as easy as it perhaps seems. So, mate, proud of you. I
No,
reckon
we'll
that
launch the one day you can see the blooper videos of all sorts of things.
yeah,
I know
correct.
you and I launched some accelerate blooper videos, which were quite funny, and there's some pretty good blooper videos on my phone as well. So Craig, in terms of some of the guests and some of the podcasts
Yes.
we did over the last quarter, one of the great ones, we sort of had a little bit of a chat about this accountability in business. Love to ask your review of that. And also in this kind of accountability, you move into friend zone with your colleagues, and think of this in a
Yep.
bigger business as well in Diverger. It's what is your thoughts on continuing to stay strong on this high performance culture? How do you swing that back out of the friend zone?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, mate, it comes down to everyone understanding the strategy of the firm. And I've been a massive believer in this for so long, is that if every single person who works in the business understands the strategy, then even if they're doing the job they hate the most, e.g., ringing advisors on the 29th of June going, you know, you've got half an hour left on ethics. And
You
either
haven't
copping a
had to
downfall
do
hot
that
for it.
for
No, not at all. Not at our network. We're nice and clean. But you know, like when you're doing that job, that part of your job, there's always a bit of everyone's role that they don't like.
yeah.
But if you understand why you're doing that and why it matters, and it links back because you get the strategy of the firm, then it makes that bit easier. And the same then applies to this whole holding each other accountable, and the high performance culture. What ends up happening is it moves from, okay, we're friends, we can't hold each other accountable, into that sporting team mentality where
Yeah.
we're all on the team. Yeah, we love each other. Yeah, we get along, but we also know we've got to hold each other to account to perform at the highest level. And it's okay to call stuff out respectfully. And I think if you create that culture, you know, and you know, some people say culture eats strategy for breakfast or da da da. I actually reckon culture dates strategy for breakfast. There's another one for you today, Dean.
Yep, I'll
Culture
take that.
actually dates strategy for breakfast because you need them both.
Mm.
And if you understand them both, it's easy to be accountable. It's easy to lean on each other. It's easy to respectfully hold each other accountable as you move forward.
Yeah, if there's no strategy, you actually don't know what you're holding people accountable
Correct.
to do or for. So,
And that's bad for culture, right? So what's the, yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, very, very, very good. So that was one of our great webinars that we did a
Yep.
few weeks ago. So tell us about Paradigm Accelerate and what you've been building over the last 6 months. Just
Yep.
reflecting on how the idea creation and then what you've been able to pull together there. It's a bit of a shout out to what you're building and we're building. But yeah, tell us about what your thoughts there.
Yep. So the first thing is no longer Paradigm Accelerate, Dean. We're going to just call it Accelerate.
Good, I'll know that.
Yep. And but the learning there is because this isn't designed as a hook to get people to use one of the licensing services that the business has done. I mean, this was born because the two of us effectively met, Dean, at an important juncture in our time and careers, and where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do. I had a passion to help advice businesses drive profit growth. You had a program that actually specifically does that, from a regard of strategy setting, accountability, execution, and putting people in the room with the right people, where, you know, it's not an event where you get to go and mingle, but it's actually strategic coaching and implementation and execution. And it kind of, they just kind of went like that, right? It was this matter of, okay, let's find and curate the leading programs in the market that can help advisors grow profit in their businesses. And so over that journey, you know, the Wealth Network is our flagship program. A bit of a plug for you there, mate, but it is because it's the part that ties everything together. But you learn that not everyone needs the same thing at every time. And so that bit was ticked because it's running and it's successful. And mate, and you've got, you know, track records we can speak about to the cows come home if anyone wants to slide into our DMs. We can show you
Yeah.
track records of all sorts of stuff that part of the program actually does. I then sat there and went, I'm really fearful that people have stopped thinking about sales and negotiation. And at one stage, it got so far the wrong way. Oh, you can't use sales in financial advice. Like, what a load of BS, really.
Oh, I
So,
know. I was talking
like,
to one of my
oh,
friends this morning, and I won't tell you the whole story, but the second part of the story went, without sales, nothing in this world would happen. And we forgot about that, I think, in financial planning, but overall, is that we're being sold to, some of it's subtle, some of it's obvious, but all the way back to the guy selling bread on the side of the road 200
yep.
years ago. He was telling you why his bread was better than the other baker down the road. And so sales is a very important part. So it's great to hear that you've been pulling that into Accelerate.
Yeah, and we ran one really successful cohort. We've got another cohort that's just started now that's going, and then we'll do a waiting list again for next calendar year as well. So there's that, and then there's branding, which is really important. The ability to brand and refresh, and then we're finalising some work with another provider who can work on the individual as someone themselves. So it's this leading programs, Dean, that everyone's paying for because they're valuable. So the people you're working with are committed. And it's all designed about driving profit growth in advice businesses. And you don't have to be with a licensee to do this. This is a diverger service. We're a service to advice firms. And so anyone can take part in it in the safety of knowing they're not going to try and be hooked into other things
Mm.
because it's not about that. This is absolutely about growing profit in advice businesses, which is something I'm massively, massively passionate about because I see how hard advisors work and I want them to get the reward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the big change in our focus overall as the move from licensees to whatever it will be legally in the future and different rule changes is that everyone's focus or Diverger and our focus and discussions is all around the business of delivering financial advice and how can the business deliver better quality advice in the future at the right price and have the right support network around them. So this is the pat on the back from our perspective, Craig, is that Accelerate really stands as a great service offering to advisors in the market of a variety of different things that they need to improve their practices over time. So,
Yep.
and it's not about, as you say, it's not the lead into getting a licensee part of the business. If everyone knows licensees, it's actually no one wants it to be the lead in. It's the risk part of the business anyway. So that's been quite good. And on our journey, Craig, like the
Yes.
power of saying no for me has allowed us to continue the growth and the focus on building out the wealth network. And so, as I say to everyone, my journey has been financial advisor, licensee, and business coach all in one day. And then the realization that you can't do all of those three jobs. And that learning has been really valuable in transitioning out of face-to-face financial advice and then out of licensee world into business coaching. And I tell that story to my clients and prospective clients because it's really important for them to see the transition that they may need to take in order to
Yep.
grow their businesses, as they can't always be doing everything in the financial planning process if they want to grow their firms, is first and foremost. But the second thing is that I've really lent on the fact that in the swim coach analogy that I like to share is that I've been in the pool swimming. I swim next to advisors all the time. I can swim in front of them if need be, in the context that I've done it all before. And I rarely ask people to do things in their business that I haven't already done myself. And that was
Yep.
it's a great story and analogy that we've built up over time, but really valuable for clients to understand that the businesses that I work with and the things that we're implementing within these businesses is that they're uh, tried and tested strategies that we've already done.
Yep. And I seem to remember a post, Dean, about your program. And it was, working with real advisors who are running real businesses, who are making real decisions and real implementation and execution. And I think, that's that's the part that links it together.
Correct. And
Which
that's
is
why
just
I can be the anti-coach at different points in time and say, the struggle of anyone working with business coaches overall is the struggle is on the implementation, not on the idea generation and
yep,
creation. And that this has been the case forever, whether it's business coach or just watching something on YouTube, is that the ideas are out there, which is why we
yep,
share a lot of our ideas. If you go onto my YouTube and watch stuff on LinkedIn, there's thousands of ideas that you can implement. The problem is that fire hose of going, if I've got 1,000 ideas or even 10 ideas, Craig, to implement, which one do I do first and why? And then the discipline around, I've already agreed to do one, so I'm
yep,
not going to add extra onto the one at this point in time. And so it all links up quite nicely to that saying no, as well as a business owner going, I've got one strategy. I've got to be disciplined in myself to do that one. Say no to
yep.
everything. Say no to everything else at all times, and don't get yourself distracted.
Yep, but I think there's also a specific difference, Dean, that's really come to light what I've learned the last 6 months watching it. And we use the term business coach, but I've started saying to people, if you've got the right person who's going to help you implement and execute, you are effectively getting a part-time team member playing the role you need when you need it. Right? When you need a CFO, if you've got the right coach, they can come in and be the CFO. When you need the CEO, they can come in and do that. When you need the chief strategy officer, they can come in and do that. And sometimes when you just need a counselor, they can come in and do that too. And I think that's the shift. So if people are sitting there going, I need business coaching, I'd urge you to think about, what does a business coach actually do? Do they understand your business? Have they worked in a business like yours? Have they grown a business like yours? Can they actually be a part-time team member, or are they just going to throw structure and walk away?
Or throw
Or
ideas
throw
even
ideas
worse,
and walk away even
away.
worse. But I am conscious, Dean, that it is. I am holding up my surprise, my guests.
Oh, I was like, he's looked at his watch already and went, I've held up my guests for too long. At least you can send them the link to
I can, and I can show them I was
UncommonCents
working.
number 35 and say that there was a really good reason why I'm late for the party. So this has been a quicker one today, and Craig will make up for it next fortnight in terms of continuing. As we know, we've passed the point of no return on our journey to 100, Craig. So hopefully number 100 will be live, I think at the Sydney Opera House or something
like that, mate. Something so low key like that.
Just something low key to celebrate the 100th episode. But for those watching online, we thank you for continuing to support us in the journey of our random rants. The exercise of doing this, if we learn what we talked about today, about having an idea, executing it, having discipline around the continuation of it. And as Craig and I say, if no one has watched this today, we've still learned a variety of different skills in order to help us in our other lives. And so we'll both go home and buy flowers for our wife, I think, Craig. That's one of the takeaways, and anyone else that's watched today. So thanks very much, Craig. Enjoy your lunch.
I will do, mate. Take care and see
you later. Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.